All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the anti-Semitism crisis. Oh my God! Yes, that's right. We're going to talk about that tonight on the report from Tucker Mountain. Stick around and listen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we well know, there's a kind of anti-Semitism crisis apparently going on. Apparently, it's a bunch of graffiti. That's all it is, really, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get down to brass tacks. But apparently, this is something, I mean, it's nothing to do with, like, say, maybe, all the, hundreds of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but maybe tens of thousands of people that have been murdered in Gaza, by Israel. That's not news in Australia. No, a bit of graffiti, ladies and gentlemen, that's huge news. And that also means that Australians need to have their, freedoms of speech limited. So, what's going on? I mean, look, I have no idea what's going on. People are behaving crazy. I do know this. It's coming from two groups. And obviously there's been some kind of leaked ASIO document that the main, people they believe behind are the foreign agents. What does that mean? Well, that can mean two things, in my opinion. That can mean the graffiti is being funded by, say, an Islamic State. It could be funded by Lebanon. It could be funded by Iran. And they are paying local Muslims, or even paying homeless people to go commit these attacks. Or the other thing is it could be done by Israel itself, because there is a long history of, these graffiti kind of attacks being, essentially false flags. And then what happens, of course, that, the government becomes hysterical, everyone becomes hysterical, and they pass more laws limiting freedom of speech. Now that is quite believable as well. I would say, I don't know, it's probably 50-50 in my head which one it is, but it's one of those two, I would say, is what's going on. And I don't think Australians should have our freedom of speech limited because foreign actors want to play their games in our country. I think that's utter nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. So, it's just, you should be able to talk about any group of people when they're involved in mischief. For example, if you want to talk about Muslim terrorism, you should be able to talk about that. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be a problem. And, and you should be able to talk about if white people, or if, white people have committed crimes in history and stuff. I mean, we're first to admit it, have not always been angels as well, Europeans. But, I think, within the Jewish community, there are people within the Jewish community that have gotten up to no good over the years, and I don't think it's a problem to talk about that either. So I don't think any of this is problematic. It's not Islamophobic, it's not anti-Semitic. Just talking about things is completely reasonable, ladies and gentlemen. So, and as to things like symbols and you should be able, you can fly, for example, the hammer and sickle, which is the communist flag, which killed over 100 million people, but you put up the Nazi flag and that you go to jail, or, all this stuff, in my opinion, is utter nonsense. Doing the Roman salute, I mean, they'd arrest Elon Musk if he did a little bit of a salute. Obviously, I'm not going to demonstrate what he did because I'll be joining him. But there you go. So they would arrest Elon Musk, wouldn't they, if he'd done that here? So I think all this is utter crap. They've arrested numerous people, including a friend of mine, Damo, who was just mucking around at an event, even if it's meant in humour or just as a demonstration, people can be arrested. So all this is just a hysteria. And, one thing I do hold out a lot of hope for is that Donald Trump is putting the pressure on, Keir Starmer to bring back freedom of speech to the United Kingdom. And he's, JD Vance is saying that also for Germany and other European countries. And I hope that that pressure is also put on Australia, that freedom of speech will be maintained here, because we can't have any kind of reasonable discussion without it. So I just think ignore all this rubbish at the moment, all this hysteria, and do not pass any new laws. We don't need any more laws in this country for this nonsense. Hate speech is always just about shutting down people whose conversation you don't like. And that's the report from Tucker Mountain for this week.